Okay, we're in the shop today. I'm just going to do a quick little video here. But it does have to do with sheep. This has to do with trimming their feet. And when you go to trim the sheep's feet, what I use is a pair of trimmers just like this. I'm sure a lot of you have got them. There's also other pairs like this that you can get at your local hardware store. I like these a little better. They're ARS. Want to do that, but I've ordered these from Premier One. They it's not advertising for them. That just happens to be where I got them. You can probably get them at other places. So I think they just hold up better than these. But let me tell you, if you can get some of these, go ahead. If it's all you can get these. I have probably 4 or 5 pair of trimmers. I got at least 4 right here. 2 of the ARS brand and 2 of just a brand from, I think I came from Tractor Supply. These are better. These will work. Why I've got so many? Because regardless, about somewhere between 4 and 6 head of sheep is about as many as you're going to get out of these for them to be good and sharp. You can get by doing a few more head, but for them to do their best, probably 4 to 6 head. So have some ready, have them sharpened up, have them ready to go. And what I'm going to do today is show you how I do maintain these and how I resharpen them. Even these cheap ones, I say cheaper brand, if you sharpen them up good, they work. They just won't hold up quite as long. So let me show you one of the reasons I like these better, but also how you can maintain these. Okay, now this may not be the best way to do it, but it's how I do it. I'm going to start with these, the good ones. A couple of things I like about them. I think the steel is better, but also the way they are put together. You've got a locking nut here, but this bolt also threads into the trimmer itself. So what I do to sharpen them, if you just need to do a quick sharpening, you can open them up and just take your file and reach up in here. Take your file, reach up in here, and you can sharpen them. But you need to be careful while you're doing this one that you don't mess up the one you may have just got done with and put a big gouge in it with the corner of your file. So I usually, if I'm going to do a good sharpening on them, I take them apart. It also lets you get back into the end back here in this corner where they come together and get that sharp. So while you're trimming, you get full use of that jaw. So to sharpen them, take a 10mm socket, a 10mm wrench. It's a cheap wrench that came with something else I bought. The wrench goes on the bolt side. You can loosen the nut. Take the nut off. And now remember, I said one of the things about these is that this bolt is also threaded into here. So see, they still won't come apart. When we put these back together, I'll show you why that's important and what an advantage that is. So we can just take this bolt out. Take them apart, pull the spring off, get it out of your way. Now I gently put them in a vise. This is just plastic, so don't clamp down on it real hard or you're going to break it. I just put them in the vise, tighten it up a little bit, just snug it up so that it's a little easier to hold. Take my file. I've got a good light here so I can see. I just feel of them to feel how sharp they are. If you'll notice, this file is not cutting a lot on this. Part of the reason is my file was kind of wore out. Let me try this other one. But that's also good metal. Now this one's cutting a little better. Just keep a little tension on it here with this hand so I can kind of steady it. Try to get the right angle. Don't back drag your file. Now there are professional sharpeners. When I say professional sharpeners, I mean people who do it for a living. They sharpen scissors and things like that. If you really want a good sharpening on them, go to your local barber shop. See where they get their scissors sharpened. Watch your light. I've got this light shining this way so I can look and see the reflection on this along this edge, and it lets me know where I'm really sharpening at. You can tell where you're cleaning and where you're just, maybe you've got your angle a little wrong. You're too far this way or you're too far that way. Try to maintain that angle. If you've got a good sander or something, you can you might be able to get by doing that. Take that burr off the bottom. I think I've got my angle down a little fur. Did I actually say fur? Far. A little too steep. I'll get close. With a little finer file here, put a polish on it. And watch that you haven't rolled this edge over. If you put your file on here flat, make sure that edge is down, that roll. Feel of it. If you look at it in the light to where you're looking right down that blade, you can see a lot of imperfections, nicks, flat spots. Flat spots are very dull. I need a little more on that end. Yeah, that's pretty sharp. We'll just take the other half of it, do the same thing, clamp it in here to help me hold it. Just snug it up, don't break this plastic handle. Now these red handled trimmers take a little more to sharpen. The reason being is the metal is harder. It just doesn't file as quick as those others do. But the payoff to that is they'll hold an edge longer. That's about all they take. Ouch. Hit my finger there. Now, let me show you. Well, let me do these other trimmers. These cheaper ones. These are a little rusty where I had cleaned them, didn't get them dried off good. But you can tell they're kind of stiff. I push them together, they don't spring back open. We'll take care of that when we sharpen them. It can be a little hard to get in there to that nut. Now this side will hold itself on these. But if you notice, As soon as I take the nut off, these will just come apart. They'll spring right off of there. There's actually a little washer inside here. Try not to lose that. Take the spring out. And these, if we can get the camera on it, when you put these together, the hole in here is not round. It's got a square on each side. That matches up with the square shoulders on this bolt. On this side, it's round, so the bolt can spin in here. But on the other side, it's not. Now let me sharpen these up the same way. And when I go to put them together, I'll show you one of the reasons I like the other ones better. So let me get these sharpened up. You can just tell when I run this file over here, or I can, how much more metal I'm taking off on these versus what I did the other ones. And that's because this is just a softer metal. Better for sharpening, not as good for using. It just won't hold an edge as long. But you can sharpen them quick. Now I'm not using a super fine file. You can buy hoof trimmers that actually have serrated blades. So I don't worry too much about it being a super sharp super shiny edge. Knock a little of this rust off of here where I neglected these before. Make them look a little nicer, Now I do, when I'm trimming sheep, I keep a bottle of antiseptic, some bleach water, something that I put these in. I'll trim one head, trim the feet on one sheep, and then I put these in that water to sterilize them a little bit before I do the next sheep. Now, when we put these together, put the bolt in the round hole. Take the other one that goes on it. Let me get the washer that I told you not to lose. Put the washer in here. Put this in here and line it up on that bolt, wherever that needs to be, so the bolt shoulders drop in there. You'll feel it. Put the nut back on. These are nylock nuts. Tighten it up. Put my spring back in. Trying to do this so you can see what I'm doing, but I can't look at the camera and not cut my fingers at the same time. Now see, these still don't want to open up. A little bit of oil in there would definitely help. But also, can adjust the tension with this nut. Back it off just a little bit. And you can get them where they work. The problem is sometimes that nut, even though it's a nylock nut, it will eventually, they'll loosen up on you a little bit. So one thing to check while you're trimming your sheep or goats, if these just don't seem to be cutting good, Make sure you don't have play when you wiggle those handles, that you don't see these blades moving back and forth, and you don't have a good mating cutting surfaces here. If they're loose, tighten this nut up a little bit. See, if you get it too loose, that's extreme. They work really easy, really nice, but there's play in there. See, right, watch right here. And you will not get good cutting action like that. There's a gap between these two blades. Snug these back down a little bit. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll push them closed, snug this down some, and see to where they lock up, don't want to open. Then loosen it just a little bit until they want to spring open. And that's just about right. Now, on these others, the ARS brand, if you notice, this side is threaded for that bolt. So when you put these together, like so, you put your bolt in and thread the other side. Put it in the right direction. Thread it into the other half. Now, make sure you got your latch on the right place and it's not too far back. See how loose these are? Put your spring in there. Jam it on that side good. Put it in here. Push them together and try to seat that spring in there good. Take your 10mm wrench. Do the same thing we did on the other ones. They're still loose. Snug that up. A little too tight. Back it off just a touch. Now, the advantage, you asked me what the advantage was. Well, I said I was going to tell you what the advantage was. The others, you just had the nut on the other side. Every time you work these, that has a tendency to kind of work loose, even the nylock nut on the other ones. Whereas with these, it's threaded in there. Then you put your nylock nut on here and lock that bolt into position. It's like a jam nut. Takes a little bit to get all my hands together here. Now we just lock that in there. Set your ratchet right. Snug that up good. See where you're at on the tension? Need a little more tension. Not too much. There we go. It's a little more trouble. So these are a little more expensive. They're a little more trouble to take apart and sharpen. They're a little harder to sharpen, but that's all because that is harder steel. The advantage is you get to use them longer. They'll do you a better job. Now be careful when you do this and don't do that and slip and cut your finger. Now once I get that tightened down pretty good, it's pretty snug. These are a little too snug to close. I could do it with some force, but I don't want to have to force it. My hands get tired enough trimming sheep. So now I can loosen that up a little. Now, and hear how those go together? Make that nice scissor action. They close all the way at the tip, so you don't lose any bite, anything out there. You can do little nibbles if you need to somewhere. So that's really all there is to maintaining these. I just take a little bit of WD-40, spray it right in the hinge area. Go ahead and give the rest of it a coat just to help prevent the rust. These better ones are stainless steel, by the way, so they don't rust. And now they just work beautifully. And now we have a nice sharp pair of trimmers ready to go. Lock them down, protect that cutting surface. Same thing on the store brand ones. A little bit of WD-40 to protect that metal some. And we've got another pair ready to go. Lock them. And that's all there is to it. Now I just got to get my other two sets sharpened up, and I'll be ready for next time that it has something needs trimming. And I'll tell you, it works a lot better if you have sharp trimmers. So take the time, sharpen them up, maintain them. Even the I don't want to say cheap, the less expensive ones that you can get at your farm supply store. You can also order these at places. Or the little more expensive ones. They're stainless steel. They will both work for you. If I had my druthers, I'd get these, but both will work. These are definitely good if you want to have several sets sharpened up and ready to go. Save yourself a little bit of money on these versus these. But I wouldn't want to do without these. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful, that it's not really difficult at all to maintain these. I hear of people that buy them and they use them several times, particularly these other ones. They tell me, well, they just get to where they can't use them anymore. They quit working, so they throw them in a drawer somewhere or throw them away and go buy some new ones. So as you can see, it's not hard at all. Take that nut off of there, sharpen them up, get them ready to go. And look at the difference here. That is a difference. These cut great. Just like a pair of scissors. Again, these will work. I probably need to adjust them a little bit. I may have them a little loose. It's harder for me to adjust the tightness on them with just this nut and still have them to where they will open. Now that I've put some lubricant on them, I may tighten that down just a little. Yeah, they're definitely stiffer there. Definitely stiffer. That'll make your hand tired sooner. See if they'll cut. They'll cut too. If you get them adjusted right. Get them sharp, get them adjusted right. Definitely a good backup set. But you can see the advantage of these. Even make that a little thicker, more like a hoof. And they just cut it right off of there. Really easy. These are actually, you can't really tell it, but they're a lot easier to squeeze than these are, because I had to adjust these down so tight here to get the cutting action good. I think these blades actually have a little curve to them, so as they come together, they keep a good tight scissor action. These are just straight. But anyway, hope that video was helpful. 10mm socket, 10mm wrench, little WD-40, a decent file, some way to hold your blade good while you sharpen it, and that's really all there is to it. All right, well, I hope that video was helpful. Learn how to maintain your shears a little bit, the advantages of one over the other. A little better shear probably does a little better job. When you get it sharp, it'll last longer. More expensive. Cheap, easy to find. These you pretty much have to order, wait on them. These you run to Tractor Supply, Farm and Fleet, Marshlands, depending on where you're at, what farm stores you have around. Pretty handy. I definitely don't overlook these, even though these are probably a little better in my opinion. So, if you like the video, hit the like button down there, leave a comment, ask me anything else you'd like to know about sheep, how I do it. I'm a pretty low input operation here, and I'll do my best to answer your questions, and y'all have a good day. Thank you.